Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Crime Stories, 20 Thriller Tales by J.A. Konrath, performed by Luke Daniels. Introduction. The first grown-up books I ever read, at the age of 9, were mysteries. This had more to do with them being on my mother's bookshelf than any particular design on my part. But I fell in love with them. Spencer and Travis McGee were my first literary heroes. I really enjoyed Ed McBain's 87th Precinct and the Remo Williams Destroyer series by Richard Sapper and Warren Murphy. Then I got into hardboiled and noir, Mickey Spillane, Max Allan Collins, Lawrence Block, Ross MacDonald, Donald Westlake and Richard Stark, Chandler and Hammett, Andrew Vax. Reading about cops and PIs was cool, but reading about criminals was cool too. In my teen years, I was floored by Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, and that started me on a serial killer binge. I devoured John Sanford, James Patterson, Robert W. Walker, David Wiltz, and Ridley Pearson. Which is probably why my novels are such a mishmash of different genre styles. When I sit down to write a short story, it's for one of two reasons. First, because someone asked me for one. Second, because I have an idea that begs to be written. If I'm writing to fill an anthology slot or crack a market, I usually start with a few lines, which leads me to a premise, which leads to conflict, which leads to action. But if I already have an idea, it usually springs full-blown from my head and onto the page as fast as I can type. Often I have story ideas that won't fit into the Jack Daniels universe. Sometimes these are horror stories, or straight humor, or sci-fi, or a combination of different styles. Sometimes they're crime stories, many of which are included in this collection. But crime doesn't have to mean serious. If I could turn an unbiased critical eye toward my own work, I'd say the thing that makes it unique is the humor. My standard author bio says I used to do improv comedy. In college, I wrote and starred in a comedy play called The Caravan o' Laughs, which was a collection of insane skits that had a few shows in Chicago and Southern Illinois. I'm comfortable in front of an audience, and from early on I could always find the joke in any situation. Comedy has its roots in the same part of our brain that responds to fear. We laugh at things that scare us, confuse us, and surprise us. We're wired to recognize and process millions of pieces of incoming information, and when something defies our expectations, laughter is the result. An evolutionary tension breaker to help us deal with being confused. Most of my writing contains varying degrees of humor. I can't help it. When I'm editing, the thing I spend the most amount of time doing is cutting jokes for the sake of the story. I hate cutting jokes, and if I snip one, I'll usually use it later in another tale. My work desk is scattered with little pieces of paper, each containing a joke, many of them awful. It's a sickness, really. Some of the following shorts use various forms of humor to varying degrees of success. There's satire and parody and black humor and puns and inappropriate humor and one-liners and slapstick and a lot of irony. Out of everything I've written, the funny stories have the most of me in them. And while I'm aware that a few of these pieces can't really be called crime fiction, I hope you enjoy them just the same. Joe Konrath, February 2010. The Big Guys. This was one of 3 stories written for Small Bites, an anthology of flash fiction to benefit horror author and editor Charles Grant, who needed assistance paying some hefty medical bills. Flash fiction is a story of 500 words or less. Strange as it sounds, writing shorter is sometimes harder than writing longer, because you have less words to fit all of the story elements in. Small Bites used 3 of my flash fiction shorts. This piece won a Derringer Award. I'm surprised you asked me here, Ralph. I didn't think you liked me. Ralph grinned over the wheel. Don't be silly, Jim. He cut the engines and glanced over the starboard bow. There was some chop to the sea, but the yacht had a deep keel and weathered it well. Well, we've been neighbors for almost 10 years, and we haven't ever done anything together. Ralph shrugged. I work crazy hours. Not a lot.